Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh and
Patty XRP.
we got some really interesting news today. We have the new Fi decentralized stablecoin on the Songbird Network. So, Patty, what is this? And this is connected to the Trustline app.
Yep, absolutely. So we know Trustline is an incorporated entity that's headed up by Matt Rosenden, a former Ripple developer on some of their RippleNet applications that they have for institutions. And with that, they have created the Ore stablecoin that is going to be coming to the Flare network in the future, as well as the XRP Ledger. But with the launch of Songbird Network, they have decided to additionally launch Probity Vault, which is going to be the decentralized protocol that kind of enables this to happen. And this stable coin is going to be called Fi. So it'll be backed with collateral on the Songbird network and will be issuable to the XRP ledger. So with that, it says here that Fi is the experimental prototype for Ore. Its name originates from the first currency of the modern Greek state. The name was that of the mythical phoenix bird and was meant to symbolize the rebirth of Greece during the still ongoing Greek War of Independence. But that's not all. And you guys will probably be pretty familiar with this one, especially being in the XRP community. So the phoenix motif shows up in the 1988 cover story in The Economist titled "Get Ready for the Phoenix." The article discusses the idea of a world currency that is free from currency exchange rate instability and resulting economic turmoil. The author predicts the use of an international currency alongside national currencies, and the world is better for it. Phi represents the rebirth of currency in the digital form. The Greek letter phi also represents the golden ratio. So with that, as previously mentioned, both Phi and Ore will be represented on the XRP ledger as trustless tokens. Both coins are transferable to the XRP ledger from their originating networks, Songbird or Flare, via the Solaris bridge. And a natural consequence of their coexistence on the XRP ledger is the conversion rate between them. The goal is to maintain a 1-to-1 ratio unless Phi moves from a pegged stablecoin to an unpegged stablecoin. Currently, right now, the plans are for it to start out as a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. And additionally, if governance implements Phi as an unpegged stablecoin, then the conversion rate will float with respect to Ore. That is until the same decision is implemented for Ore. So, Mickey, we know that a lot of the common stable coins out there, like USDT, USDC, what is it, TUSD, Terra stablecoin, they're all pegged to the dollar, and that's really common. Dollar is like the most commonly used currency in the entire world, but there may come a day where having it pegged to the dollar isn't as stable as you would like. Also, coming up with stuff, new ideas for what is stable value. I think what could change this into the future, but since Probity is going to be a DAO, that means that whoever's part of that ecosystem can institute that change if some better technology comes around. So I'll let you go into what your starting thoughts are here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there's a real need for a decentralized, trustlessly issued stablecoin pegged to the dollar on the XRP ledger right now. The DEX doesn't have anything that's decentralized except for the XRP ledger, XRP token. So by having, Phi and Ore on there is going to allow for more liquidity and for more trading of other assets. So as we see, other tokens issued on there, they could trade then against a USD pegged asset that's also decentralized. So I think that's going to be very important going forward in the future. And now that we're going to have two, this would also allow you to move from Songbird to Flare, because you could take Phi, go on from Songbird, you go to Solaris Bridge to the XRP Ledger DEX, swap it for Ore, and go right back to Flare now. So this really creates that bridge. It's like a triangle kind of. I mean, we could do a little Blackboard video next time when we get more information on this. But really what this allows is for interoperability between the three networks. And I just do want to point out here that Phi and Ore, the collateral that's backing them, is going to be XRP and Spark for Flare, for Ore, and XRP and Songbird on for Phi. So the value of XRP is still going to be utilized in the backing of these decentralized assets. And the trustless issuance of them is so important. So that's what distinguishes them from things like USDT and USDC. And we see how Terra has blown up, right? Terra's price has exploded. That's because the Luna is used as the collateral. So we're going to see more use out of XRP, Spark, and Songbird as collateral, and that will help, support its value.
Absolutely. And so to touch on this paragraph here, Mickey, so the Trustline team says there's much more interesting consequence of the Phi Ore pair on the XRP Ledger's exchange. Payments can leverage the order book liquidity, the trustless token model, and the Solaris bridge to leverage cross-chain and cross-currency payments. For example, a payment originating in Phi, and this is kind of what Mickey just alluded to, but kind of step by step through it. So a payment originating in Phi on Songbird can be transferred to the XRP ledger via Solaris. Then a payment can be initiated and instructed to consume Phi Ore liquidity to convert Phi into Ore in the first pass step, and then be sent to a trustless issuing account in the second pass step. Once the transaction is verified by the state connector, the Ore stablecoin is available for collection by the intended recipient on Flare. A transmitter could transfer value from Flare to Songbird and vice versa using the XRP ledger as an intermediary without a central counterparty. We intend to ensure that TCN governance tokens can be migrated from Songbird to Flare in this manner as well. And so for anybody that doesn't know, there's a secondary token that is going to be a semi-stable coin as of right now called the Trustline Credit Network token, so TCN. This token will have governance rights associated with it as well. So that's good to know that we're going to be able to move it between the two blockchains as well. And Mickey, I imagine in the future that as far as like what Matt and his team at Trustline are doing, they're going to be trying to build out ways to where this is like a one-click swap and it kind of just finds the path for you. You get quoted a rate, and then however long it takes for that whole transfer to happen and for you to get your value from Songbird to Flare or vice versa kind of just happens automatically, and you pay a fee for that to happen. So I would imagine something like that comes from them in the future.
Yeah, I think so, because Hugo described it as there is a lot of steps to doing that, but they could abstract all that in the background and make it very easy for us as users to be like a one-click or two-click move it over there. And I think this has implications for the federated sidechains that are coming to the XRP ledger. So any of these assets that are issued on the XRP ledger are going to be able to move to the sidechains. So things like Phi and RA are going to be needed to be used on these sidechains to have a stablecoin. So instead of having those centralized stablecoins, which there will be, there is a need and a demand for these decentralized stablecoins. So this is going to be big going forward in the future. And this is why, there's all this talk about, XRP is going to be a stablecoin. XRP doesn't need to be a stablecoin. It's never going to be a stablecoin. It never was intended to be a stablecoin, because we could create things like this, which Trustline's doing. Now, also, Trustline's app is separate from the Probity vault. So Probity is the decentralized application. Think of it like a decentralized bank, where you deposit assets and then you're able to borrow against them. Where Trustline is going to be the actual app that's going to allow you to cash out to fiat. So that's one thing that's really going to be interesting here, and I really like what Matt and the team there at Trustline are building, is because it's going to be that convergence of, DeFi, the XRP Ledger, Songbird, and Flare all into one, and you'll be able to link to your bank account. So if you wanted to borrow against your XRP, you could borrow RA and then cash out right to your bank account. And that's something like you can't do with Flare Finance. So that's how this DeFi application and whole ecosystem is kind of different than Flare Finance. So they're not the same thing. I just want everyone to understand that, and that Trustline is really going to, harness the XRP Ledger and the XRP Ledger DEX. Like, you're going to be able to hold Phi and RA in your Zum wallet and then be able to trade those on the ledger for all these other new projects that are coming out.
Yeah, I also think about, Mickey, like in the future, with Panther Protocol coming to the Flare network, is that something that those, two individual projects can tap into with each other to do private payments, because I know that Trustline, especially the company, is going to be extremely focused on doing payments, whether it's P2P or wherever else they may go with that in the future. So I could see that as being a really interesting thing that will come about in the future as well. So to dive in here, Mickey, on what is the plan for launching Probity and the Fi stablecoin on Songbird. So they are preparing for a limited Songbird launch that tests the economic assumptions of our stablecoin design, which we will go through how it works. It's similar to MakerDAO. And there will be a limit on the amount of SGB collateral that can be used to supply or borrow Fi during the first phase to mitigate potential risks. Additionally, we may require pre-registration for participation. We want to ensure that the system design works with real value in a limited setting before completing the smart contract audits. The audits will occur when there is consensus that Fi has achieved a satisfactory level of stability. And to protect the potential vulnerabilities in the unaudited code from attackers, we will take 2 or 3 major security measures. 1, we will keep the code base closed source until it is audited, but we will give certain trusted individuals read access to the repository on GitHub to confirm that the deployed contract binaries match the repository code and that Trustline has no direct control over Probity. 2, we may additionally require KYC of participants until the code is open sourced, or we may open source the unaudited code and require KYC until the audit is complete. 3, we will create private, closed sourced, and this could be audited, unaudited contracts, and or public, same thing, bug bounty programs. Their plan is going to be to do both. So that's kind of like what we're looking at. It doesn't, I don't think anybody's going to be putting up tens of thousands of dollars to start to mint Fi. They're going to keep it rather small and then grow it from there. So no reason to rush into it, especially with the code in its unaudited stage. So if you want to participate in this, testing, definitely join the Trustline Telegram group, their Discord. You can sign up for updates on their website. So when they send that out, if you want to be one of those people to do that, if not, you're not missing out on like some crazy yield or anything like that. So, don't feel like you need to do that, and just know that it's going to be unaudited code that you'll be testing out.
One thing I like about this is that they're harnessing Songbird for a specific use case here. So they're testing, but at the same time, I like how they're, making a Probity vault there, but with a, mirror kind of version of RA, but eventually it can morph or transition into something else that's maybe not pegged to the US dollar, like you said, over time, especially if we see high rates of inflation. They could start out as these decentralized stablecoins pegged to the dollar, and over time, they could move to something else. And what's nice here is, remember that Flare and Songbird have the STSO and the FTSO. The reason they have these decentralized oracle systems, that time series, is to be able to provide accurate price feeds of the collateral. And that's so important. So instead of having to use outside sources like Chainlink and others, it's already built in to the underlying network, Songbird and Flare network. And this is going to allow for applications like this to develop. And it's just, I know everyone's excited about getting their rewards, and that's great. But remember, what you're participating in and getting the rewards for is a very powerful system that really no other blockchain has at its core. And using assets as collateral is going to be very important in the future. And it's a very big use case, especially if those assets have value. And Songbird and Spark are really designed as assets that are meant to be used as collateral, with the F-Asset system. And XRP, everyone says, it's great for payments. And I understand it's a payment application with Trustline, but XRP is a great store of value, and it's going to be. So using it as collateral is another use case for XRP and FXRP.
Absolutely. And Mickey, kind of to give a shout out here on this section, the first Ore NFT is actually made by 2 community members who do our graphics and branding and all that stuff. So that's really exciting. There'll be more information coming out on, how this will work and, how many they're going to be minted. So basically right now, the NFT represents the first Ore to ever be minted and will be automatically received by the first user to supply Ore in Probity's treasury. This is a unique, one-of-a-kind experience for the winning bidder. So that'll be interesting. They said, please stay tuned to their blog if you want to be notified about that as well. And then Mickey, I'll let you talk about the Probity DAO and what they're creating with a financial cooperative organization.
So yeah, this is really interesting. So I know many of you have heard of the word DAO. And now they're really changing that and using the term now financial cooperative organization. So you think of like a credit union, which means there's not just one owner. There's going to be multiple. So they're going to use this in a decentralized setting to pretty much govern the Probity vault. So this is that convergence of regulatory entities and decentralization. So these are the future types of, I guess you could call them banks that are going to exist on blockchains. And I think this is kind of the first iteration. You know, we have things like MakerDAO, where everyone who holds Maker tokens participates in that governance there. Now, we got to see exactly how this design is going to work, Patty, because there's not yet a white paper for it. So I don't want to try to describe something when we don't have all the information, but just know that that's the direction we're going, where we could have, you know, no central entity controls this actual Probity DAO. It's going to be governed by the TCN holders and then the governors of this financial cooperative. Oh, and nice. You have a nice little diagram here.
Yeah, so for the last part, I think, and Mickey, if you have anything else to add, I'll definitely let you do that.
No, just, yeah, I'll say after.
Cool. Yeah. So we just wanted to take everybody through that may not be familiar with Trustline and Probity. This is something Mickey covered and did an interview with Matt Rosenden and Brad Kimes like last, what was it, March at this point, Mickey? So you guys can check that out
March
as well. Yeah. So we really haven't talked about it much in a while because Matt's kind of been and his team working on ultimately what is going to be the whole ecosystem design. But this is how minting Ore and also borrowing it will work. Probity is the decentralized protocol. Ore is the decentralized stablecoin. And Trustline is the company building all this. So let's say we have Mickey. He has 1,500 FXRP. And let's say one FXRP is equal to $1. So what he can do is deposit that 1,500 FXRP in a Probity Vault smart contract, which in turn can mint up to 1,000 Ore stablecoins at a 1.5 times collateral ratio. So this will constitute Ore reserves. Now, for Ore to move out of the reserves and into the ecosystem, you need to have a borrower on the other side who also will lock up a 1.5 times value amount of the Ore stablecoin that they're going to borrow. So in this instance, if Lars, who we haven't, if you guys remember Lars, for people that's been around from early, he's going to take out 500 Ore. So at 1.5 times, that would be, what would that be, Mickey? 750, I think, would be 1.5 times. I don't know, doing the math in my head there. But with that, it would also be set at 2% APY would be the interest payment, and that's going to accrue over time. Additionally, this interest payment is going to be variable, which will be based on the supply and demand like on the Ore stablecoin in the future. So as more people want to borrow Ore and you keep the same, you know, Ore supply, the interest rate will go up. As people don't want to borrow it, the interest rate will fall to incentivize people to borrow it. So that's kind of the general way it's going to work. You're going to see it's very over collateralized on the borrowing and creation end as well. So it has a relatively safe design.
Yeah. So what's nice about this is there's two sides. So you could put your collateral in and then lend out the RA and earn interest on that, or you put your collateral in and you borrow the RA. So there's two different sides. There's lenders and borrowers, and that's where the interest rate will be a dynamic interest rate based on that. And then this RA is going to be able to be used on the XRP Ledger. So I think it's really good to look at it like a bank. I know it's not like a centralized bank, but the concept's the same. You're depositing assets and you're borrowing against them. And this is going to be used for payments in the future, you know, on the XRP Ledger. We need a decentralized stablecoin on Ledger. If you look at any DeFi ecosystem, they all have a decentralized stablecoin at their heart, all of them. And that's something that we're going to have. You know, Flare Finance is going to have their own with, you know, canned on Songbird and YUSD. But now RA is going to be able to be used on Flare and on the XRP Ledger. And the XRP Ledger really is going to need this. And it's not to say there won't be others on the XRP Ledger, but what this does is it allows, even if one day there is CBDCs and other types of Tether and stablecoins, we still know there's trustless, decentralized stablecoins. And I think that's really going to play a role. And it's also another use case for crypto assets like XRP, like Spark, to be used as collateral. And that's really going to allow these systems to really develop, because now you can have your own ecosystem with their own applications, and certain things can be paid then in dollar-based assets like ARA. So this is just really just the beginning here. And moving forward, we're going to see the Trustline app come out, and that's really going to be powerful, because that's going to have the same components that you're going to have at, like, say, a Coinbase exchange. You're going to be able to cash out right to your bank account. You're going to have KYC, you're going to have AML, you're going to have compliance. So this is what I've been trying to say for a while now. We're going to be moving away from these exchanges more and more and more, because everything you need to do is going to be able to be done right on the blockchains. And as you combine these complementary applications and blockchains with each other, like Flare acts as a trustless gateway to the XRP Ledger, because there's no way to issue actually like decentralized stablecoins at the moment on there, and you don't have a decentralized Oracle. Well, it's not to say that there's not going to be an Oracle system on a federated sidechain. And also, I'm going to be releasing a video possibly tonight, if not tomorrow, on all the presentations at the Apex Summit. So just to let everyone know, Trustline received a grant from RippleX for $100,000. So they are supporting this project from a grant. Matt Rosden did a presentation at the Apex Summit. David Schwartz did one, which was phenomenal. Like, you know, for the community, we should really be focusing more on that than looking at things like ISO 2022. That's not as relevant. I know it makes headlines, and I know the videos, but it's pointless. You know, the things we should really be looking at that affect us and are going to affect XRP's like value and utility are going to be happening in the next 12 months on the XRP Ledger. So really, I want everyone to get prepared that there's going to be some big changes happening, but they might be a little different from what you expected, you know, in 2018, 2019, when you thought all these, you know, crazy flip of the switch is going to happen. That's going to come. But right now, we are in the midst of a massive adoption and participation for governance and utilizing the assets and putting them to work and helping you earn yield. So XRP is no longer going to be just a pet rock they just hold on to and you hope it goes to the moon. We're going to be able to deploy these. There's going to be an automated market maker on the XRP Ledger that will be able to support liquidity for the DEX and its trading pool. We're going to have federated sidechains with NFTs and other DeFi and tokenization use cases. And these are all going to be for retail and institutional use. Same goes for Flare. Same goes for Songbird. So I just want everyone to really understand we're just at really the beginning of all this getting going. And when it gets going, it's going to happen fast. So be prepared the next 12 months for a lot of activity and opportunities to participate in and, you know, investable opportunities. And that's not financial advice.
Yeah, and I'll just add one last thing, Mickey, that you know, once Probity gets going on Songbird Network as well as the F-Assets system, I mean, this is going to be I would imagine, a pretty strong use case for XRP in its battle against the SEC as well. I mean, what kind of securities do you know that can be transferred? Their value can be transferred from one network onto another, used to, you know, back a decentralized stablecoin and then reissued back to the originating ledger. You know, it's just kind of crazy to me, and this just goes to show you how ridiculous that case is. But I don't want to get too deep into that. It's just another thing that's out there at this point that we know XRP can be used for, and it will keep happening more in the future. I'm sure that there'll be, you know, with the side chains coming up, Mickey, projects that are going to try and create their own stable coins directly on the XRP ledger with XRP backing it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves in the future, and it's going to get really exciting here soon.
Yeah, but this is really a payments application, you know, Trustline, you know, using the actual Trustline feature that's built into the XRP Ledger. You know, one day the vision for Trustline is to allow for credit. So, you know, if you go back to Ryan Fugger in 2004, when he built Ripple Pay, the whole idea was to create trust lines that you could have, you know, debt obligations like, okay, you owe me $100, you pay me at the end of the month. Now, that could be done peer-to-peer with friends and family, or it can be done from institutions can use those trust lines down the road. So we're just at the beginning phases of what's possible. That's all built into the XRP Ledger right now. That's why you don't need those heavy smart contracts in the XRP Ledger at the moment. And when we do get it, it's going to be hooks, and it's going to be very light. It's not going to clutter the ledger, where the federated sidechains can have all types of custom programmable smart contract languages just specifically for that. So I think, a lot of these smart contract so-called platforms that came out there, to be able to think you're going to be able to do everything in one blockchain is just unrealistic going forward. And even Hugo said that. You have layer 2, layer 3 with XRP Ledger, federated sidechains. And what I think they're building here is for the future. So you might think, Cardano's ahead, Solana, they could do 60,000 transactions. But not everything's going to happen on layer 1. And, that was the whole vision, I feel like, for the XRP Ledgers. They moved away from the gateway model, and they said, okay, it's not going to be just gateways. Let's build whole sidechains. And we could scale horizontally and be able to create a whole network of different blockchains that tie back to the XRP Ledger mainnet. And I think that's going to be powerful going forward in the future, from private CBDC sidechains to DeFi sidechains. They could all have their own different centralization, decentralization, different levels of security, different types of smart contracts. And that flexibility, now opens everything up to, why do you need a private blockchain when you could just do a sidechain? And then you have the Ethereum virtual machine. David Schwartz said the first sidechain is going to use that. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting 12 months, Patty, with Flare launching, Songbird, the XRP Ledger sidechains. I expect a massive uptick in adoption and utility that is just going to be a wave. I mean, I think everyone saw a little glimpse of it with some of these airdrops from the trust lines. Now, not every project's going to be, even a real project with those. So take that with a grain of salt. But some of them are going to be good, like Els with the Legion. We're going to have Evers with the nodes. So I'm going to go through that in the video to show how, that's going to really be a big thing, having those nodes up there and running to be able to do smart contracts in the XRP Ledger. So we're still very early to what's being built out here in this whole crypto ecosystem. And I know some people like looking for just price action, and I get that. But at the same time, you have to accept that we're not there yet. Like, it's going to continuously be development every year after year after year. There's no end game that we get to where it's like, we're done. That's it. It's going to keep going for years and years and years.
Just wait till AI proliferates, and then your head will actually be spinning.
Like, I know you want to be here for the money, but if you don't understand some of the tech that they're building, it's very hard to understand and see the vision of where this is going. But community, we have that as the XRP community. You could see how our impact on this SEC case has meant everything. But when that ends, we're going to have a massive opportunity as a community with Songbird, with Flare, with the XRP Ledger, to be able to participate and be governance. And that's kind of like the evolution of our community, of where we have to be looking. Like, community starts here, but when you're actually going to be able to participate, delegate your votes, then you could be able to, utilize that value. Then you'll be able to build things like, the community. We have that foundation. So I think that's, so powerful to have as a foundation compared to a lot of these projects. They don't have communities. Flare has this community to get going. And, I think we need to really utilize that. And we saw how impactful it was with this whole SEC case. And it's going to be impactful. I mean, we're able to be friends of the court now. Nobody expected that to happen. And now here we are.
Absolutely. So with that, if you want to learn any more about Trustline, you can check out our page at the DeFiStandard.com, have a ton of info about it, as well as links to the videos Mickey's done in the past. And so with that, this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.